Hello and welcome to another lesson about Bluefort's license and subscription app, embedded in Microsoft Dynamics 365 for finance and supply chain, otherwise known as finance and operations apps. In this lesson, we will discuss request for payment. Let's jump right into the application. So we will move to the subscription management module, subscription management cockpit. We can filter on our favorite customer, Contoso, and here we have a brand new account where we will create a subscription plan with a request for payment. So we'll create a new subscription plan. We can use CSP per unit subscription. Now the license and subscription app at the moment, it supports two types of request for payments. The default is not applicable, but it can also be controlled from the program type, and it can also be set to deposit and to security. Let's have a look at the deposit type. When you select deposit, two fields in this new deposit field group appear. In the first one, you would have to set up for how many months you would like to ask for a deposit. Let's say, for the sake of this lesson, 12 months. And also we would have to set the minimum subscription deposit balance, which for the sake of this example I will set to 900 euros. And here now comes the important part related to the billing posting profile. So like we saw in the previous lesson about configuring billing posting profiles, these can be set up to be inclusive of sales tax or VAT, or exclusive of sales tax or VAT. So if we, for example, select this one and then we go to view the details, here is the flag actions include VAT. These actions include VAT. The only scenario where it is applicable is when we indeed have requests for payments, which can be deposit or securities. When there is VAT applicable for that customer in conjunction with the item, then if this flag is ticked, the deposit will include the sales tax or VAT. If it's unticked, then even though VAT or sales tax is applicable for the transactions, it won't be part of the deposit. So this is a very important concept. Actions including VAT only is applicable for request for payments. If it's a normal sales order invoice or purchase order invoice or project sales order or project purchase order, then this flag has no effect at all, because there the standard functionality will trigger. But again, if the customer in conjunction with this item is configured to have sales tax and this flag here is ticked, then your deposits and security deposits will include sales tax. So to keep it simple, I've selected a billing posting profile which does not include VAT or sales tax. So this means we won't include the VAT calculation in the request for deposit to the customer. So I click OK and the plan is created. I can now click New on the plan line and I will select this item with a quantity of 1 starting from this date, and the sales price per month is 100. Now I can publish my subscription plan. I will run the master process manually, and what happens is that we have now 3 actions generated. One is for the request for deposit. It was a request for deposit which is applicable for 12 months, so the date from and date to are 12 months apart, and the amount is 1,200 euros. which is 12 months multiplied by the €100 per month, which we will charge our customer. Then there is, of course, as usual, as we saw in previous lessons, the generate sales order invoice action and the generate purchase order. I will now go ahead and firm the request for deposit payment, and now it is firmed. I can optionally print the request for payment and send it to the customer or email it, which is what you'd expect. And there you can see that we're charging 12-month deposit, which is equal to €1,200, and there wasn't any previous balance. So the total payable from the customer is 1,200. Please note that this is a request for payment, it is not an invoice. So then, if I refresh my screen at this point, I will see that there is a total deposit amount of 1,100, which is the 1,200 minus the €100 invoice, which we shall be invoicing this month. So now I can once I receive the money, I can post this payment, and again upon refresh you will have the ledger currency now, the ledger balance from the sales ledger, which is of a minus 1,200, because this is the amount we actually owe the customer because he paid a deposit. And now we can firm the sales order invoice. It is now firmed, and we can also post it, and it is now historical. So refreshing at this point will get these two values aligned. So this is the total deposit amount across your plans. At the moment we only have one subscription plan, so it's actually displaying this value, and the balance in currency is actually the balance of the customer coming from the sales ledger. So now I will go ahead and fast forward to the next month, and there we can see what happens. So I'll move over to the subscription management parameters form. I will change the test date. Please note, do not use this test date in production environments, as it can cause damage to your data, and it is not supported in production. This is only for testing. Sorry if I repeat myself, but I mentioned this every time we use it in any of the lessons. So now it's the next month in our cycle. I switch back to my plan and I execute the master process, and this time around it just generated an invoice. It did, of course, it did not generate a request for payment. Again, why? Because if we go to the details, we'll see that the minimum subscription deposit balance is 900. So this is actually correct. So the total deposit amount now is 1,000. I can go ahead again and fast track through this one as if it's a real life scenario. I'll post it. We can refresh, and again the sales ledger balance and the deposit amount are aligned. Now I'll do another fast forward by 1 month and run the master process. Remember that here we had a minimum balance of 900, so now we expect this deposit current value to hit this threshold, and the new deposit top up happens. Let's see if that happens. Yes. So again, we've hit our minimum deposit threshold, so the master process generated a request for deposit balance of 300 euro and the monthly normal invoice of 100 euro. So if we now refresh, our deposit amount is topped up back to 1200. So I can firm my action and now I can post and post, and that basically realigns again our deposit amount and our sales ledger balance together. I did not process the purchase order actions because they are not applicable to this lesson. There's also, like I mentioned, the possibility to do a subscription deposit of type security. So let's say you have a consumption based subscription and we'll do a security. We can do the security to be of amount, and then we can have a value of 900 for the security. Then there is the average cycle. So what this means basically that let's say we'll put this to be 3. That means that every 3 months the system, the master process, will check if we are still within the threshold, the percentage fence of the security. So let's put that to 5%. So what we're saying here is that we are expecting that our customer every 3 months they spend with us more or less 900 euros of this subscription product. If that threshold is skipped by 5%, so if it becomes 900 plus 5% higher than that, the system will generate a new request for deposit action to top up the security. For those of you who are not aware how security works, it is similar to what happens basically when you rent an apartment or an office and the landlord asks you for a security deposit to cover any damages or losses. So a security is different from a deposit because in a deposit, like I showed you earlier in this lesson, we offset invoices against the deposit, while in this case the invoices still have to be paid in full. They do not offset against the security deposit. The security deposit basically is just there as a safety net, just in case the customer overspends or doesn't pay any invoices. So, important concept, please keep it in mind. Deposit balances are offset against invoices. Deposit security balances remain there for the lifetime of the subscription and are not offset against invoices. They can be topped up or refunded based on the fence, but they are not offset against invoices. And then at the end of the billing cycle of the subscription plan, a refund is issued back to the customer. So again, I can control whether my request for security deposit will include sales tax or exclude sales tax or VAT. And I can click OK. I can create my line. It's a consumption based, like we discussed, and we also have 300 euros worth of estimated consumption. we click OK and we publish the subscription. We'll move the date back to here and we trigger the master process, and here we see that the request for subscription security payment action is generated, and it is in the value that we suggested in the plan, which is 900 euros. So at this point, as you can see, no action was created for sales order invoicing or purchase order invoicing, and if you're not familiar why this happened, you can refer to a previous lesson about consumption subscriptions, but basically the answer lies in the fact that the consumption subscription is in arrears. So since the subscription is in arrears, the first month has to pass, and only after the first month then you will receive an action of type sales order. So I will firm this action and I will post it. And if we go back to our consumption subscription, we can just then look at the details, and there is our 900, which is a security value we configured. And keep in mind that this value is at the top, the total deposit amount at the top is totaling the deposit amount across subscriptions, across all the subscription plans which are published. I will now move the date to the next month, save it, and rerun the master process. Apologies there, I skipped out to the main menu. I'll filter back to the customer master process, and now we've got the sales order invoice generated. It's generated in October for the month of September because the billing type is in arrears for consumption subscriptions. And now we can go ahead and firm the action. Alright, this is an estimate, so I need to edit. First, I will assume that the gross amount has actually gone up to 305.5. Remove the estimate. Yes, I am sure that this is what I will charge the customer based on the actuals. I will firm the action and click OK. So now I have an order with the actual amount for my consumption, which is 305.50, and I will also post that one. And as you can see here, from a sales ledger perspective, the amount, actually the balance amount, is broken because I've used the 50 cents. So the standard functionality of Dynamics is not context aware. It just has two figures which it balances off. But the license and subscription app is smarter in this case because the deposit value is not offset with the invoice. It remained there at 900. So this is actually showing that when you have a deposit type of type deposit, the invoice is offset against the deposit. When you have deposit type which is security, the invoices are not offset with the deposit, and the deposit balance remains there throughout the lifetime of the subscription plan and it is refunded back to the customer in the event that the subscription plan is cancelled. So it was quite an interesting lesson and a long one. I hope you learned how we handle requests for payments in this app. I hope you find this functionality useful, and as always, if you have any questions or feedback, feel free to get in touch. Keep on tuned for more lessons. Thank you very much for your attention.